Hey, guys. This is my Danny G impression. Yo, guys, I got an idea for Thursday's show. In honor of Shaq's 53rd birthday, we always point out all his wins. Kazaam was one of his L's. What are some other movies that match its stink level?
Oh, that's because it's a stink level.
5% on Rotten Potatoes. I know it's tomatoes. I say that to annoy people because everyone wants to correct me every time.
Hey,
It's 5% on Rotten Potatoes, right? Which is really bad. So based on that,
That's such a rotten potato. It has stuff growing out of it.
yeah, we're asking you, Fox Sports Radio Nation, what are some other weak-ass movies that we've all seen? But before we take your calls, and hang tight, to be fair, we know how great Shaq is. We know the championships. We know his swag, his humor, his charisma, his shimmy, his endorsements. We know
His
that
generosity.
he was in Foosh Snickens. He's done it all.
He's a generous guy with
Generous
families.
dude.
And, yeah.
But seriously, when you look it up, guys, he owns Krispy Kreme. He owns Krispy Kremes. He owns Auntie Anne's, 17 different Auntie Anne's. Big Chicken co-founder, Papa John's all over Atlanta. Five Guys, 155 locations.
And you know that makes him a lot of money.
Seriously, dude, like
It's like $30 to eat there by yourself.
he's involved in so
Wait,
many
hold
things.
on. How many
Forever
how many
21,
How many Five Guys?
155.
Hold on. That is 775 men.
Yeah, he owns that many. Forever 21 he's involved with. He owns the rights to iconic names like Muhammad Ali, who you just mentioned, Rich, Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe. O'Neill is the second largest individual shareholder in Authentic Brands Group, ABG. Like, he's doing it all. So not only is he a businessman, he's a businessman. So before we crap on his movie, you got to give your props.
Well, we're always singing his praises. He's on our show once a week.
That's true.
Yeah, we're big Shaq
you're right.
fans.
Danny G, that probably is the biggest L he ever took, that weak-ass movie.
For sure. And he said the reason why he did it at the time was for the payday.
And
They gave him $7 million to go do that
well,
Genie
you know
movie.
what? Then I guess, I can't blame him
It
for that.
was an L for the viewers, but not for him.
Not for him. I mentioned No Holds Barred to get it going, and we get to your phone calls next. I bring up No Holds Barred because we remember, if you watched even casually the WWF when you were a kid, they hyped this up like it was going to be the biggest movie that ever was because Vince McMahon produced it, if I'm not mistaken.
The whole
so
scene
they
of
blew this up.
The whole scene of Hogan in the trailer in slow motion jumping on the hood of the car. That was such a flop. They even had Zeus, Tiny Zeus Lister, if I remember correctly, headline SummerSlam. They were trying to bring the characters into wrestling, and you pointed out before the weakest scene from that movie when Hogan grabs the guy out of the car. Take a listen.
What's that smell?
How stupid is that?
The guy was
Now, even No Holds Barred scored higher than Kazaam. 10% on Rotten Potatoes. 10%, 5 more than Shaq's movie. So now we go to you. Rich, does one automatically come to mind for you?
I have my favorite bad movie, but I want to give the phone calls a shot before I point out what I consider a family favorite in my household.
Yeah.
But I know.
And the first one I told you in our pre-show meeting, do you think a listener will have that one?
You know what, Danny? That's mine. So
okay. We agree on it then.
You and I, Danny
All right.
G and I have one of the same awful movies that our families both seem to watch a lot. Let's go to John in Illinois. What's the weakest movie we've all seen? What's up, John?
Love your show on the way home.
Thank you,
thanks.
man.
All right, so sticking with the theme, so two of them would be Airplane with Kareem, and then Corral with Wilt.
You know, Airplane was a good movie. I don't think that's a bad movie.
Yeah, it's
Maybe,
a cult classic.
Yeah, that's
And what was the second one? Anybody know? I don't
a movie
even know
with
it.
Wilt.
Wilt Chamberlain was in a movie?
Yeah, what movie was that,
I
John?
think that was the second Conan the Barbarian movie.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
Conan
you know
the
what?
Destroyer.
Remember that from the early 80s?
You're probably right about
Okay,
that.
got it.
Okay. The movie Airplane, I happen to love. So
I love Airplane.
yeah. So I appreciate the phone call, though. Let's go next. Who do we got?
Trip in Vegas. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Trip.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
I got two. One's a spoof, but the other one is by far the worst movie ever made. One would be Dracula, Dead and Loving It was horrible. But this next movie is the worst movie ever made. Battlefield Earth with John Travolta.
Battlefield Earth, not a good one.
I don't know if it's his worst, though, because he was in a movie that Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit produced like a few years ago. Look it up. I'd never heard anything about it, so it had to be horrible. But thank you, Trip. I appreciate it. Let's go to, who's that, John in Virginia Beach?
John, what's up, buddy boy?
John,
COVINO Rich.
what other
Hey, good
movies
afternoon,
match that
guys. How you
stink
doing?
level? How you doing, man?
Doing all right. A lot of hype in this movie, but I didn't see anything in it. The Blair Witch Project.
People loved it, and listen, it's not going to go down as one of the worst ever. I agree with you. I thought it stunk.
I
but
personally loved it.
Really? You loved it? I did not. Yeah.
No, I mean, love's a strong word. I liked it a lot.
I think it's just going to go down as being like that was the first that we had of those like discovered camcorder style movies.
Yeah.
I think that's why people remember it and like gravitate to it. But yeah, I don't know about the substance itself. It's just first of its kind.
It had its place. I could see how it's polarizing, though. I could see how you hated it. Let's go to Kyle, New York City.
Hi. How you guys doing?
What's
up,
up,
man?
buddy? Movies that stink that we all saw.
Okay. Teen Wolf 2 is unwatchable.
Yeah, that's what. Isn't Jason Bateman in that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unwatchable. Okay, but I also wanted to say that you guys told me about a movie, the movie about, it's got Danny Trejo, the brother,
Blood in, Blood Out.
Blood
yeah.
in, Blood Out.
Thank you so much for telling me, because like you said it was awesome, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch it. And it was awesome. I mean, and it's such a great cast. Oh, man, and it reminded me of Breaking Bad when they do that thing with when they do all that stuff at the one time, all at the same time in the prisons. You know what I mean?
Dude,
Yeah,
I'm so glad you like that.
it's
The
a
only
cult
criticism is it's so long, but it's the hardest Disney movie you'll ever see. Blood in, Blood out.
Is it on Disney Plus?
Yeah, it is. I think
funny.
it is. Teen Wolf 2, by the way, 8% on Rotten Potatoes. That's got to be Jason Bateman's worst because he's good.
I'm going to throw a movie out there
Yeah.
that's not my answer, but I can't imagine the rating on Rotten Tomatoes, potatoes, is very good. Please look up the rating on this one. Do you remember Anthony Anderson did Kangaroo Jack?
Of course I do.
Remember he was like on some safari or something?
With our boy, Jerry O'Connell.
Jerry O'Connell.
I'm telling him you said
That's
that.
Jerry O'Connell, Anthony Anderson, and a kangaroo. I watched it as a kid, but I remember even as a kid remembering like,
Guess what, Rich?
I don't think this is very good.
It's still better than Kazaam, according to Rotten Tomatoes. 9%, though. Yeah, I mean, these are all great answers because these are terrible.
All right, I have the answer that I think is going to be hard to beat. And I know this because Danny G and I both, one of us living in New York, one of us living in California growing up, both watch this with our families a hell of a lot, and it's awful. Not E.T., Mac and Me.
The broke E.T.
The broke E.T. I watched Mac and Me.
was such a bad ripoff.
What's your
So-
guess? What's your guess on Rotten
Oh,
Potatoes?
man.
Mac and
If
Me.
Kazam was 5% and Teen Wolf 2 was 9 or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think this one is?
Mac and Me, I'd be surprised if it's above 7%.
Dude, on the head.
Maybe
nailed it.
people.
7.
Was
Nailed
this,
it.
oh, serious?
7%.
Yeah. What did I win?
7%. 1988 Mac and Me.
I don't know why. I think maybe our family acquired it on VHS or something where we'd be at my grandparents' house. And I remember always thinking, like, I'm looking at my little brother and sister, like, we're going to watch Mac and Me again? I guess so.
It was so bad that it was almost good in a way. My aunt would say, rewind that part, and we'd be busting up laughing because the famous scene where the fake ET is dancing on the tabletops inside of McDonald's, each part of that long scene, every time they go to the little alien guy, he's a different size. It's a different person in a different costume.
It's so bad that you're right. It might be good. Do you guys all know about
singing the Super Bowl
Paul
shuffle?
Rudd,
Yeah,
right?
you guys
Famously.
all know. You guys all know about the Paul Rudd prank. It's
Yes.
one of my favorites. It's a running joke when he would go on Conan O'Brien's show. Every time Paul Rudd would go there to promote a movie, like, hey, Paul Rudd's here to promote 40-Year-Old Virgin. He would always play a clip from the movie, but it would always be the same clip from Mac and Me where the kid's going down the hill in the wheelchair. And Mac's like, uh-oh.
That's honestly the extent of my knowledge of this movie, other than I remember it coming out.
Well,
But there's a lot of like trashy horror movies too. You know, I'm looking up some movies. Like I had answers written down, and I'm surprised that they were ranked way higher than I thought. Like I wrote down like Amazon Women on the Moon, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and surprisingly, they're like 60% and above on Rotten Tomatoes. But I got one, and I'm right on this one. I'm trying to think of all that trash, like HBO movies you'd watch as a kid. You guys remember Ghoulies? When they would come out of the toilet, like they're like the weak-ass gremlins, like Ghoulies.
They're not critters. They're not gremlins.
Yeah.
They're ghoulies.
Ghoulies, 7%.
Oh.
So I think a lot of us probably saw that at one point. You definitely remember seeing that little monster out of the toilet when you were at Blockbuster, right?
Of
Like you
course.
definitely walked past it.
All right.
7%.
I got two, and the phones are hot, so we're going to
All
go to
right.
everyone. But I got two while Danny G gets the next round.
I
of
want to
calls.
see if anyone could beat Kazaam, though. 5%. No one's beat it yet. Kind of hard to beat.
I got two. Look up. I remember watching this movie in high school at the theater with my friends, and we were even teenagers, and we acknowledged this is the worst movie we've seen. Cuba Gooding Jr. played a mute, and he went on an adventure with Paul Hogan. It was called Lightning Jack. Do you remember Lightning
Yeah,
Jack?
of course. It
was
Lightning
so
Jack,
bad.
Lightning Jack Kane.
1994.
Yeah, I remember being like junior high.
Dude, you're right on. You know what it got? 6%. Honestly, it's not as easy as you think to think of movies this
Like,
bad.
that bad.
Yeah, because the other ones that I thought were terrible actually score pretty decent
Lightning
sometimes.
Jack. I don't want to give away what I think might beat Kazaam, but I have to.
Okay.
Only because widely considered over the last 50 years, every time
I
worst
know
I
movie.
think Josh in Ohio wanted
let's
to say that one.
let's go to Josh in Ohio on line one. I'll give it to him, but I don't think it was the worst movie of all time. But Josh, what do you got, man?
I mean, it was kind of a heartbreaker because we're all the same age. We all wanted to, let's just be honest, wanted to see the girls from Bayside naked. And we all rushed out to see Jesse Spano and Showgirls. And that movie was so bad, it took away from Jesse being hot.
Hold on. I hope Rich's dad isn't watching, because isn't he surprisingly a huge fan of this movie?
My dad is like, oh, I thought it was a good movie. I'm like, Dad,
I gotta be honest, I love
I'm
it.
like, I think my dad just likes boobs.
But you know what? Showgirls, it's there, but it's not. It's 23%.
Wow.
But you're right. I
Wow.
mean, everybody knows it wasn't a good movie.
Josh, that
It's
was
critically acclaimed as the worst movie of all time.
That wasn't my answer. My answer, I'll give you mine. I think this might be the one. I never hated it, but when we were kids, even our parents and your neighbors would joke about how bad this movie was.
I know where you're going.
And if you grew up in L.A., shout out to Rick Dees, Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck.
Wait a second. Did Disco Duck have anything to do with that movie?
I think it did, right?
I
Was
don't
it?
think so.
I don't think.
I think
there
they're
was-
just two terrible duck-related things.
Was it Disco Ducks that are featured? No?
That's quacktastic. Quack, 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 quack.
If those two
Howard
are
the
related,
Duck
I didn't know that.
Came out in 86. Did Disco Duck come out in the 80s? I don't think so.
Maybe I'm wrong.
They both suck. I agree with you, Rich. Howard the Duck, 13%.
Wow.
But where Rich is right on this is that it's synonymous with like one of the worst flops of the 80s. Leah Thompson was in it. One of the worst movies. When you have this conversation, this movie always comes up. Howard the Duck.
Can I give you one more? I don't know if it was so bad, but I know box office wise, I remember when we were kids, people talking about how this movie lost millions because it cost so much to make, yet made no money. Can you look up Waterworld?
Oh, well, no. There's no way that Rotten Tomatoes has Waterworld
Under five.
as something low. No way, because
It's going to be low.
they-
It's gonna be
they-
low.
yeah, but it was criticized for losing money, not for sucking.
And they
so
do have the Waterworld show at Universal. So
Which,
they're-
by the way, is still fantastic.
It's so
probably,
good.
Probably my favorite thing at Universal Studios.
One of our good
It's a
buddies,
great show,
One of
yeah.
our good pals, Mike, is one of the stunt guys in that show.
Waterworld, 1995, 45% on the
Wow.
tomato meter.
Tomato meter.
But again, was highly criticized because of how much money it lost.
Huh.
Let's go back to the calls at 877-99 on Fox. It's Shaquille O'Neal's birthday, his 53rd birthday. And we always hype on his W's because he's a hugely successful guy. Today we're clowning his L, and I'm sure he'd be okay with it. It's his birthday, and we're talking about Kazaam. In reality, he won anyway because he made $7 million for it.
And it might be the only thing Shaq's done where we could all be like, yeah, that was not good. Because Shaq, let's be honest, he's a winner. Let's
But
say,
it is 5% on the tomato meter.
all right, let's go rapid fire. John in Pennsylvania. COVINO and Rich, what's the worst movie we've all seen?
The worst movie in the history of the world, Son of Kong.
Son of Kong. I don't know if I've seen that.
The 1933 movie? Because I used to
Was
like that.
Son of Kong.
Yeah, the old black and white one, or
Yeah, not the original King Kong.
the Son of
After
Kong.
that came Son of Kong.
Yeah, when I was little, I liked it. I probably wouldn't like it now.
Yeah, but I doubt it got under 5%.
42%.
Yeah. All right, thank you, John.
Thank
Ray
you, buddy.
in Northern Cali. Ray, Covino and Rich.
Guys, first of all, shout out Howard the Duck, because I'm calling from Petaluma, and that's where this movie
Yeah.
was filmed.
By the way, for the record, for the stat boys at home, Disco Duck came out in 1977.
Okay.
And the other movie I was going to mention was Adventures of Pluto Nash. Horrible.
That was Eddie Murphy, right? Was Eddie Murphy Adventures of Pluto Nash? Am I wrong about why am I? Hold on.
That is Eddie Murphy, Randy Quaid, and Rosario Dawson. And that got, let me look it up for you real quick, 6%, man. That was a good one, dude. But you know what? I never saw that one.
Pluto Nash. I don't think I did either.
Yeah, I'm actually glad I never did.
Demetrius from Tulsa. What's up, Demetrius?
By the way, hold on. Pause real quick.
Yeah.
Shaq can't feel that bad if a great like Eddie Murphy is capable of making something so terrible.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy, arguably one of the most talented guys of our time, funniest dudes, he was in a movie that bad? That's crazy. Like there's no redeeming parts of Pluto Nash?
What do you got, Demetrius?
Two of them, Joe versus the Volcano and Down Periscope with Kelsey Grammer.
Bad movies, but I don't think they're under 10%, I bet.
I think Joe vs. Volcano is bad for like a Tom Hanks movie, right? Like bad for him. I'm trying to find it though. Yeah, it's not even on the potato meter. It has to be, right?
What do you got, Prophet?
All right. So I think it might get propped up a little bit above 10%, but I've got one with two big hitters in it, Carl Urban and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Doom.
Yeah.
With like the weird first-person scene they try to do because they're trying to emulate the video game and everything.
You know
That
what?
was
not good. You know what? I'm very curious. I'm sure you could categorize it, Covino, when we're done taking the phone calls. There's got to be a way where you could find out what the lowest rated movie is.
Yeah,
Right?
well, I looked it up, and I'm trying to find on this list ones that we could say most people have seen. I don't know if this would qualify, but Return to the Blue Lagoon, the 1991 version.
Oh, the 91
The
version.
91 version,
Yeah, but I don't think-
0%.
That
0%
bad? Like, not
on
even
the
a
tomato
percent.
meter.
Like, how bad can a movie be?
But I think what makes the Shaq one special, and I say that for real, is that a lot of people have seen it because we're like, oh, it's Shaq.
He loves Shaq.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting about it? When you say Kazaam, I automatically think Sinbad because of the Mandela effect. I think of, wait, was he in a Genie movie? Shazam?
And people are like, no, he wasn't.
And then people will be like, nah, he was never in a Genie movie. And you're like, wait, Sinbad was in a Genie movie.
Cove, here's another one with 0%. Problem Child from 1990.
No way!
Yeah.
John Ritter?
I love Problem Child.
They ranked that number 17 on their worst 100.
You know, I feel bad about that because we all love John Ritter.
And that movie
he never
wasn't
really
terrible.
translated to the movies, you know, the way he should have.
Of course, but I'm saying, of all those bad stinkers we talked about, I'm not saying Problem Child was good. But Problem Child deserves to be in the 10 to 20%.
0%?
Yeah, and one more, number 19 on their list, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, Staying Alive. 0. Big fat 0.
I'm gonna stick
man.
up for Problem Child and say, well, not great. It was John Ritter with a kid that just caused mischief. It was such a cheesy 90s movie. Certainly not deserving of 0.
Then again, you're thinking on behalf of your
10-year-old brain.
expectations,
Yeah.
of a 10-year-old.